Hello there, hope you're doing really, really good today. And this is going to be, I'm pretty much just going to read an email from Ellen. Ellen has been contributing a lot to this channel, so thankful for that, Ellen. And if you want some background, do listen to episode pod 11, where I actually read the entire first email Ellen sent to me, which was, I have it up here, let's see, when was that? That was April 19, April, May, June, July, so about 3 months ago. And I'm just going to read a little bit from that email and then go on to the most recent one. So I'm going to read one paragraph here where she said, and this is from the original email from April, "You have noted that 18 hours of wakefulness may be needed for an insomniac to then experience sleepiness, but my cycle seems to be 21 to 40 hours, exclamation mark. I've often gone 40 hours without sleeping. Occasionally, I get 1 minute microsleep sitting at the computer in the late afternoon. I watch 90 minutes of TV at night from 8 to 9:30 and get about a 2-minute microsleep around 9. It's hard to believe that the 2 minutes could throw the cycle off that much." I think, this type of pattern, if you want to call it that, was pretty typical when Ellen first started connecting with me. That she would sleep like not at all for days or maybe 2 hours, and with that in mind, let's move on to this email that I got just a day or so ago. Here it is. So actually, this was on July. Oh, it was a few days ago, July 22nd, and I'm just gonna read it through. "Hi, Daniel. Just wanted to give you an update. I had to take a break of several weeks since I was so discouraged that after doing so well within a few weeks of Martin's course, the same patterns emerged a week of ending the course. I was still doing stimulus control and my original sleep window had only expanded by an hour. So while I was willing to fully reinstate the 5.5-hour window, I wasn't sure it would jumpstart me back." I'm just going to interject a little bit here and say that Ellen's story is kind of like almost like how a movie's built up or a book, meaning like started from like having this really terrible insomnia, started to work on it using CBT-I and working with Martin Reed, and was actually having remarkable progress early on, was doing really well at the 8-week mark, and then as she graduated from the course, had like all the symptoms came back, and she decided to kind of go on what I call a like sleep detox, like not think about sleep at all, just not read about it, not engage at all, and then after that sleep detox, she wrote me this email, which you'll see is really, really encouraging. It reads as somebody that has really gotten past insomnia. So that, with that little introduction done, let me continue reading here. I felt like I had much less hyperarousal, but still some totally sleepless nights and difficulty falling asleep until 1 or 2. And then a new pattern emerged. While I have always woken up several times during the night, I could fall back asleep easily. But one night there was a bird in the middle of the night, like 1 or 2 or 3 a.m. chirping away. Because this usually happened more like 6 a.m., I felt like it was time to get up and couldn't fall back asleep. A pattern that continued as the bird decided it would get a head start on singing every night/morning, and its friends joined him. I relapsed badly a couple of nights, getting upset after not sleeping, even taking a sleeping pill, antihistamine, melatonin, wine. I hate alcohol, never drink, and then feeling even worse the next morning with a hangover type effect, even though it had earned me a few hours of sleep. I binged on Sasha Stevens' books and was buying into most of what she said, except for the stuff about giving yourself positive affirmations, telling yourself I'm the greatest sleeper ever. That is so not me, telling myself lies or saying I'm the greatest anything. So it was doubly discouraging. I could never tell myself I believed that I was a fantastic sleeper, just like I couldn't do Pexy's not caring thing. If not caring and lying to yourself was what it would take for me to get better, I didn't have a chance. The truth is very important to me. That's why we meditate to find and accept truth. And while we can work on controlling our thoughts and can definitely control our behaviors, we can't control what we care about. I think Nick Wignall talks about how counterproductive attempts at thought suppression are, and that's basically what this is. It wasn't living with all the mindful Buddhist stuff I relate to. Just yesterday, I listened to a talk from Tara Brach about surrender acceptance. This doesn't mean you give up or pretend you're happy with what is, but you acknowledge what is and learn to be okay with it, and that's what I've done. Just a few comments on this one. Sasha Stevens is kind of somebody that has overcome her own insomnia and written a couple of books that generally I think are fantastic. But I've heard this more than once, that some of the things that Sasha Stevens talks about a lot is like affirmations, that telling yourself that you can sleep, that you're fantastic, that you're the best sleeper ever, and that can, maybe she's gone a little too far on that end, but overall really good books. And then she refers to Pexi, one of the members of the Insomnia Insight community here, and what helped him overcome 13 years of insomnia was like kind of not caring if you slept or not, saying like, I give up, I'm going to spend 6 hours in bed and then I don't care if I sleep or not, which I have heard other people say really worked for them, but I totally relate to Ellen here too, which is nobody truly doesn't care, that we all actually want to sleep. So I totally see what she's saying here. Anyway, let's go on here. My sleep still isn't perfect. What I have now is many people's baseline: 5 to 6.5 hours, taking 20 minutes or longer to fall asleep, several awakenings, and a few difficult nights. But it's all I need and pretty similar to what I used to have. I get more sleep every other night. It's almost as if I didn't build up the best sleep drive on a nightly basis, but I had noticed this even pre-insomnia, just that the bad nights weren't as bad as they got to be. But it's doable and sufficient for me. I won't win prizes for sleeping, but I have more comfort with the whole thing and have more freedom to think other thoughts, care about other things, etc. I feel great emotionally and physically. I even feel better than before this happened, stronger, more grateful for what I have, more confident that I can withstand difficulties, more compassionate towards others who are struggling with their own things. Here is what worked for me. And this is a list of, let me just check how many things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 things here. So let's go through this. Here's what worked for me. Number 1, I knocked sleep off the pedestal. I've always had a strong gratitude practice, but I would start every day being thankful that I slept, even if it was just for a few hours. I thought this was a positive thing, but when one of my yoga instructors mentioned that we should start every day being grateful for our breath, I realized this would be preferable because life or a good day didn't have to revolve around sleep. Big one, real big insight. Number 2, I analyzed what it was I wanted, not just saying I wanted to sleep well, but analyzing why I wanted to sleep well and what results I wanted from sleep. It was health and energy for sure, and I do have some other ways that I've largely maintained: diet and exercise and meditation. I wanted the peace of mind that comes from not worrying about sleep, and I worked even harder to get there, not by improving my sleep immediately, beyond my control, but by focusing on an overall better way to think and live. Another really big one, and I'm commenting here, but when people go from focusing on exactly what Ellen's saying here, not just wanting to sleep, but thinking about like, why do I want to sleep? Well, for most people, it's to feel refreshed, to focus well, and etc. And then focusing on that rather than the sleep, meaning like focusing on like, if I feel pretty good, even if I don't sleep great, well, that's good, even if I didn't get X amount of hours. And so, fantastic. I love what I'm reading. I really, really love all this. Okay, number 3. To this end, I really ramped up the mindfulness. I always did yoga, qigong, meditation sessions daily, but like many people, some of it was just going through the motions. Yes, I was wearing yoga clothes and on a yoga mat, but not really keeping my mind on the moment. And thoughts, plans, worries about sleep were keeping me company all too often. So now when I exercise, do mindfulness practices, or do other things like chores, I do self-talk to guide myself into the moment and stay there. Quote, now I'm going into downward dog. Quote, I'm holding a twist to the right. Quote, I am breathing in, I'm breathing out. I'm cutting up this onion into small pieces carefully, and it stopped the constant looping about sleep. And it's so helpful that I will continue this, not just ward off thoughts about sleeping, which have decreased so much, but to truly stay in the moment and not worry about past or future stuff. Really, really helpful. I think mindfulness, yoga, meditation may not be for everyone. what I've read about it, I like, but I've never really engaged in it. So there may be other ways people can avoid, kind of constantly being preoccupied about sleep. But definitely, this is one. This is one that's true worked for you, Ellen, and can work for many others. Number 4. I added a more cognitive reframing to my sleep thoughts, writing down my negative, irrational thoughts and then countering them with more rational thoughts, reading them aloud a few hours before bedtime, and then ripping it up and doing it all over the next day. So I would go from, quote, now that the insomnia came back so strongly, so quickly, I'm sure I will never sleep again, end quote, to, quote, I improved once, I can improve again, and this will give me confidence that is more likely to last, end quote. This guy has a website that does mattress reviews, but he had insomnia and wrote about some stuff. I love his take on negative and positive sleep thoughts. I will post this the links here in the notes to this episode, and this is great, fantastic. Who was that? I think that was Brett, who similarly had really overcome his insomnia, and I made an episode about that, I would say 1 or 2 weeks ago, and I asked, like, what was the big thing for you? Changing negative sleep thoughts to positive ones. This is a big one. A lot of people turn a corner when they do that. Okay, cool. Number 5, I stopped looking at the clock, even to see what time I was going to bed. Never checked it at all. Don't keep a sleep diary anymore. My sleep is what it is, and all the measuring, quantifying, and recording isn't going to change anything. And because I stopped checking the clock at night, I carry this over to daytime and don't check nearly as much as I used to. This is really, really good. In my own clinical practice, etc., I do ask people to keep a sleep diary, and I think it is helpful, at least initially. But that said, if one can get to a point where you don't check at all, where you don't need a diary, that's of course that's the goal. And by the way, a little comment here. There's this study I refer to quite often. I can't remember really the title of it, but there's a study where sleep and insomnia was kind of studied in 3 countries. There was Namibia, Tanzania, and I think it was Bolivia, among these pre-industrial societies where they don't even have light, electricity, anything like that. They're basically hunter and gatherer type societies, and they didn't have a word for insomnia. They didn't know what it was, and there could be more than one reason for that. But one that I thought about was this: they may have a completely different concept of time. Like, you don't have a clock. You sun goes up, it's day, sun sets, it's night. And perhaps that could be a reason why insomnia is non-existent in societies where you don't have the same concept of time, measured, breaking it up in hours and minutes and seconds like we do. Okay, so this is going to be number 6. I hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. I have a plan B waiting for me every night. A book to read, or a computer or blanket set up in another room in case I never get sleepy or wake up and can't fall back asleep. Have the clock covered so I can't see the time. And I'm much better at finding some pleasure in reading or listening to a podcast in the middle of the night. It's still a good thing to do, even if it isn't sleep. Really, really good. Again, a lot of people, that's one of the most common questions I get is what if I can't sleep at night, what should I be doing? And I think, and this is what I heard from Nick Wignall, I'm hearing from you, Ellen, is have a plan, have a game plan. If you can't sleep, then know exactly what you're going to do. So there's no kind of internal discussion should I do this, should I do that? No, I'm going to do this thing. That's what I have decided to do, and I've prepared for it. This is awesome. Number 7, I discount 5% of what any expert says. No one has 100% of the answers, especially for each individual, and there can be conflicting advice that drives you crazy. So disregarding 5% makes me feel a little more like I'm in control and not just at the mercy of what somebody's advising me, especially when it conflicts with how my brain works or my sense of authenticity, integrity, like pretending not to care or telling myself that I'm a great sleeper. That's never heard of this one before, but it just makes total sense. Absolutely. And let's go on to the last one. Number 8. Insomnia stole a year of my life, lots of energy and time that I could have been doing something more interesting than fretting about my lack of sleep. So I wanted to add back something that was important to me, and that was doing a yoga nidra every day, a type of meditation where you lie on the ground and do a mental body scan that rotates your consciousness and really relaxes you. I didn't do this for a year since it can morph into taking a nap, but I've been having some sleepiness in the afternoon, and I've miss doing this, so I decided to see what would happen if I did it in the afternoon. I never do it later than 3. I do one for half an hour. Maybe I fall asleep for 10 to 15 minutes. The other 15 minutes I'm meditating. Doesn't seem to affect my nighttime sleep and refreshes me, leading to feeling better and less sleepy from 8 to 9 p.m. watching TV. I realized naps can reduce the sleep drive and would never go to bed and formally take a nap for an hour, but this is just a quick pick-me-up that makes me feel like I'm resuming my life. I don't really believe that 1 hour yoga nidra is equivalent to 4 hours of sleep. I don't even think it goes into delta, theta at the most, but it makes me feel better physically and mentally. It makes so much sense yet again. You know, sleep is so interesting. Like if you're avoiding yoga nidra in an attempt to preserve sleep dive and sleep better, then avoiding yoga nidra can become a sleep effort, you know? And so in a way, when you decided to do this, in a way you were kind of eliminating a sleep effort, and you were trying less to sleep by doing something that may accidentally, quote unquote, put you to sleep. And so, as I'm saying this, I realize it's complicated, but easy at the same time. Meaning, like, when we do something in an attempt to make ourselves sleep, that always backfires. That's called a sleep effort. And in a way, again, you were not afraid anymore that the yoga nidra would affect your sleep so much, and you did it. And even though you might have slept a little bit, it totally worked out, because overall, like, your preoccupation and thinking about sleep, etc., decreased. So you know what, this was amazing. All these 8 points were amazing. I'm so grateful for you sharing this, Ellen, and I'm going to really refer to this episode a lot. I think it can help so many people. Let me read the last part here. So, a rough ride, but I survived, and the sleeping challenges have actually resulted in some improvements in other areas of my life. Worth the effort. Thanks for your help. I still watch your videos and find them interesting, and still need to keep on the right path and maybe help someone else along the way. Wow, this is amazing. Ellen, thanks yet again. As I just said, I think this is going to help a lot of people. I'm going to refer a lot to this episode. I might even break things out and do separate episodes from some of the pearls here. So with that said, as always, please comment here. Please email me. Stay in touch, everyone. And I hope this was really helpful. Actually, I really believe this is going to be super helpful. And with that said, I will be back again tomorrow. And until then, hope you have a really, really fantastic rest of your day. Bye-bye.